Okay. I was wanting to talk about this morning. I had a thought run through my mind. I was talking with Ty, and a phrase came across my mind called living in the moment. Um, I'm going to say a few phrases or expressions to you and just kind of think about what they mean um, for yourself, what you understand them to mean. I was pursuing acting in a community setting, stage acting, theater. And at one point in some of the auditions that I had done, I had gotten a part in something, and somebody had mentioned to me, Carrie, you've got really great stage presence. I was like, oh, thank you. What does that mean? um, I didn't understand what that meant. It's like, no, you really, your presence on stage is just, it's really good. And I, like, can you please explain that to me? Because I really don't know what that means. And I don't know if I can't remember how she explained it or even if she did, but in time I came to feel or realize I think what that means is when I was on stage, I was on stage. I was living in the moment. I wasn't thinking about, what's going to happen in the next scene. I wasn't thinking about, boy, I wish I was anywhere but here. I was present wherever I was at, whatever scene I was in. I would do my lines as if it was happening in real time. And so stage presence, I think that's what that means, is when someone is checked in to whatever role they're playing or whatever, they're there. And it adds a lot. You can distinguish when someone's there and not there as an audience member. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Anyway, that's just where I was coming from in my past. And then another phrase or expression, get your head in the game. It's a song from High School Musical my kids they loved a long time ago. Well, not that long ago, but a sports reference or expression, get your head in the game. You're playing a game or whatever you're doing, be paying attention to what's going on right there. Don't be thinking about what you're doing after the game. Don't be thinking about, the last call. Oh man, I really blew that. No, get your head in the game right now and be present right now. Another expression I heard my mom say a long time ago about being so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good. And I heard my mom say this about my sister one time, because both my sister and I are very similar in the sense of a strong affinity to the Father and a care for people, that we're concerned about their livelihood and thinking more on spiritual level of, like at the time my sister was like very worried about other people's salvation and she wanted to see other people get saved. And she'd watch a movie, and in the movie she'd be concerned about the characters in the movie, whether they were going to heaven or not. This is when we were a lot younger. And my mother would be like, you're just so heavenly minded, you're no earthly good. She was just always so worried about things that were, anyway, that was just an expression that my mom used. And then you hear words like down to earth, someone who is down to earth. Okay, so these are thoughts that were coming up in my mind, and I wrote down, it seems that there are those that are longing for the hereafter, that they are missing the here and now. People who have desires, they're looking toward the future, so much so that they're missing out on what's going on right now. Like for when your kids are real little. Oh man, I can't, you can't function because whatever phase they're going through is just too much, or whatever, you're getting tired and you just don't want to, oh, I can't wait until they're older and they can take care of themselves, or oh, I can't wait until they're older and they can drive themselves. Oh, I can't wait to, like all these phases, we're always looking forward, and that we can miss what's going on in the present. Another, people who continually wish for tomorrow are essentially wishing their life away. Think about that. I know somebody had mentioned that to me one time. I don't know if I was saying it or somebody in our company that we kept was continuously, man, I wish it was this day. I wish it was any day but today. And that's all they ever said was, I wish it was then. I wish it was then. And it's like, you're wishing your life away. What about now? And then one last expression, folks who can't wait until the weekend oftentimes don't appreciate the work they do. How many times, I know I used to have a job and I would look forward to the weekend because I hated my job. It's like, oh, I can't wait until Friday, till the end of Friday. I liked Friday because they'd have casual day Friday. I hated getting dressed up for work. And casual day Friday, I could wear jeans. Oh, I can't wait for that. And this idea, though, waiting for the weekend, why? Because on the weekend, you don't work. Or put it in our modern terms, and maybe in a Hebrew roots circle or Torah observant mindset, can't wait for Shabbat. Oh, looking forward to Shabbat. Oh, when is Shabbat coming? Well, it's fine to look forward to something, but to look forward to the point of despising where you're at right now, that's where it can be problematic. And so having said all of this, my mind was going in different directions this morning, and one direction was this idea of people living for, like, going to heaven someday, or they're living for a better life. Oh, Yeshua, Jesus, come back, come quickly, whisk us out of here. And they not recognizing we're here right now, and we have to live in this moment now. And if we don't like the way things are, we can make choices and make changes in our own personal life right now. We need to be present now. We need to live today, not live for today, not live in the sense of everything I'm going to do, I'm going to just live for today. For tomorrow we die. And not that mentality. Not like, well, I'm just going to live my best life now and just enjoy everything because then it's all going to be over. We don't want to be like that. I think we want to live today, but for tomorrow. We want to be forward thinking about the future, but we live today to reflect that. Do you understand what I'm saying? We don't want to escape today. That's the that I see that mindset over and over again in all different facets. We're not happy with where we're at today, and we want something better later. And we shirk what's going on today in hopes of something later, when we should value where we are right now. And if we don't like what's going on right now, we fix it. We do what we can to appreciate where we're at and enjoy the journey that we're on, with an end, with the mindset of all in a day's work. When we're done, we get to rest. And when we rest, it'll be a peaceful rest. It'll be, we've done all that we can and we've enjoyed it. And then when all is said and done, we can feel good when we're no longer working. Do you understand? So these are just, I don't really have a specific direction as far as aim as where I was wanting to go. It's more like just discussion starter. So these are ideas that are on my mind, and what do you guys think in response to along this vein? Do you struggle with this yourself? Do you find yourself thinking, about anything but right now. Maybe you're buried in the past. Maybe all you're thinking about is, that church that I used to go to 8 years ago, and I'm still having issues over that. Are we living in the past? Are we living in the future where all we're thinking about is what's going on, this thing that I'm going to build and it's going to be so great later that we ignore what's going on right now? Do you know what I'm saying? Or not necessarily ignore, but not appreciate to the fullest, or not take advantage of. What are your thoughts? Anybody have anything they want to chime in on along this vein?
Really, it's really one day at a time, no matter what you got, and try to make the best out of that day. But I get caught up in that at work a lot. Like, oh man, not so much. Come on, weekend. Come on, time to come on, quitting time. I break it up into days. I don't wait for the weekend to start dropping. It's a perfect attitude, though, really, because it's just same as Messiah said. Today's evil, and I work in an evil place. My work is evil. It's sufficient enough, for one day. So, but anyway, I like where this is going, kid.
I think, sorry, I don't have my camera on, but anyways, it's me, not Madeline on the, I think that this is something I struggle with, and it's actually been on my heart and mind for a couple months now, as I am facing different challenges in my life about many different things. The journey is really important, because everyone wants the end goal. Everyone does. Doesn't matter what it is. Everybody wants to get to the end goal quick, because sometimes the journey is painful. Sometimes the journey involves lessons that we might not want to, learn, because sometimes these lessons are tough. But if we focus on just the end goal and miss the journey, we lose a lot of things. We not only lessons, but in the way our lives can impact other people. I know, being a mother, sometimes the day is just so stressful, and I'm like, all right, I just want bedtime here. I just want evening. This has been one of those days. And then I have to refocus and go, no, there's joy in this day. I just watched my two youngest children giggling and being silly outside together, and that was joy. My oldest daughter just came up to me and gave me a big hug and told me she loved me. Just these things, just focusing on the here and now. Because if we do that, it's really simplistic, but if we do that, life is beautiful no matter where you are. Because how our minds go crazy, and the what ifs, and my mind is constantly going. I have a really hard time shutting it down at night. And I always, the what ifs, and what could that person have been doing? Or what did that person really mean by that? Or what's the future going to hold? Or what if this happens? Or what if that, and then it brings on fears and self-judgment and all these other crazy things. Then it helps you, it makes you lose the focus of the here and now, turning off our minds and all the stories and lies our minds tell us. If we can shut that off, and it is hard, and everybody's in a different place, obviously, in their lives. Some are better at it, some are not so. But if we can shut that off and live for the here and now, it is amazing, because you can find peace, you can find joy in even the mundane. Even through the stress, even through the junk that you're going through, and enjoying the journey. Carrie, this is great, because it speaks to my heart, because this is something I have been working on consistently since this past spring, and I still have a long ways to go. But like in my fitness journey, I have a certain place that I want to be. I'm in my mid-30s, and I've had 4 children, and I want to be in the best shape of my life. I said that one after my second daughter was born, and then obviously I went on to have 2 more children. But after Ella was born, I'm like, I want to be in the best shape of my life. And I did. I got to be in the best shape of my life. And I want to be there again. I want to be in the best shape. But it's not just looking good. I want to feel I want to take care of myself, and not just physically and emotionally, but I want to make time for myself and do all these things that I haven't been so good doing my entire life. Like, I'm really lousy at taking care of myself. I give and give to other people and don't take care of myself. So it's been something I've been working on. And one of those things is, I'm like, okay, I'm working out. My sister comes over and I do my workout, whatever. And I'm like, oh, I just want to get results here or here. But I'm just keep on reminding myself, I'm like, no, because working out makes me feel good. If I do it early in the morning, it makes me feel good. It gives me energy. It puts me in a really good mood. The kids have noticed. They're like, wow, mommy's less cranky. Because if the days that I work out in the morning, I'm less cranky. It feels good. When you work out, it physically does something to your body. It makes you feel better. So instead of focusing on, okay, the end goal, because the end goal's down there, it's there, but not focusing so much on the end goal and just the everyday, okay, hey, I want to have a good workout today. I want to feel good. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to be a joy to my children. I want to be happy. I want to be positive. If we do this daily, it's life-changing. It is absolutely life-changing, but not only for you, but to other people, because how we live our lives screams to other people around us. You have no idea who's watching. It's so important. Like, everybody knows it, but do they really know it? Because the people, not just our children are watching, not just our spouses are watching, other people we don't even realize they're watching. And yeah, so yeah, anyways, that's my 2 cents on the subject.
Kelly, you want to share something?
Yeah, it's funny because my daughter and I, we were just praying together this morning as we were walking by the river, and we were talking about these very things because she's 29, not married, and we were just talking about the fact that you can wish this time away, like, oh, if only I were married. And I said, yeah. And then when you get married, it's like, if only, when I have children, and all you said, you can just keep wishing those things away. And instead, you want to have, what was it? Living in the moment was the kind of the main thing, but also, having joy in the moment, because it's right. Everything I'm saying is right along with everything you already said, but just the idea that you're stopping to appreciate. Even Emily mentioned this, little um, little signs that God is still blessing you and He's with you, and um, it's um, it's like sometimes we don't take the time to realize those things, and it's that saying, stop and smell the roses. We don't take the time to appreciate all the things that God is giving us, and then being thankful for them. And if we're not having a heart of gratitude and thanking God, we're not inviting Him to give us more, because I gave you this and this and this, and you didn't even acknowledge it. You didn't say thank you, or you didn't smell those beautiful flowers that you just walked by, or whatever. It could be many different kinds of things, but there are always little things, and He's reaching out to us. And then if we just ignore those and go on, then we're missing those little pleasures, and He wants to give us more. But if we're not gonna even acknowledge the little things, how are we going to recognize when He gives us something bigger? And the other thing is that we were talking about was how you act today is storing up blessings for you in the future. And so, like for her right now, she's wanting to really focus on character development, but also attaining skills that would help her with cooking and gardening and all the things that learning to make soap and all these things that she's trying out. And even how she's talking and speaking to other people in her life will have an effect in the future. We were just talking about all these things, and it's true for everyone. But if you if you're like always wishing away what's happening to you right now, you're not storing that blessing for the future. For when that one time comes, you're not, like you said, you can rest on Shabbat well and with peace when you know you did a good job all week long and you gave it your best and you really were present and did accomplished good tasks throughout the week. Then you've stored up a huge blessing for yourself, because by the time the weekend comes, you are like, yes, I got all that done on my list, and everything's looking good, and I got the house clean, or whatever it is that is on your list, and now I can rest without worrying about anything. It's all, I took care of it, before Shabbat came. And so there's just a whole lot to be said about you can apply it to Christians who are waiting for the rapture as well. You talked about that briefly, but I don't need to do anything now. I'm just waiting. I'm just holding on, until it comes, and kind of hunkering down. And you don't have to go out and do anything because you're just waiting for that time. And of course, we know it's near, right? And it's just so many people are talking about end times and believing that we are in the end times, and so that changes the way you live your life, and it's perhaps another lie from Satan that he wants to keep us focused away from what we really need to be doing.
Hey. So that was great what you guys are saying. And I'll jump in there if I can. So the whole thing about being in the moment or living for now, or there's a saying that a lot of hippies used to say that I knew, be here now. And the whole thing about, all I can think about when I'm hearing those sayings and those types of mentalities and living, words to live by, is people on their smartphones on Facebook, and all of the modern technologies have the potential to remove us from our current moment if we give them that power. Now, some of us here on the call don't even have a cell phone, which is great. Some of us do, and that can be okay if it doesn't rule our lives. And it's not just, this isn't an attack just on technology and smartphones and cell phones, because I'm sure back in the day, they probably had their thing to deal with. It's not like we have this new thing and we're all distracted in this generation, because every generation had distractions. And so, but the way we can understand or relate to it now is by some of these things that are most common in our everyday lives as distractions. So what is it that we want to focus on? Because there's another saying that I haven't heard yet this morning, and it's the energy flows where your focus goes. So whatever you focus on, that's going to get bigger, or whatever wolf you feed is going to grow. It's the same type of mentality. So whenever Paul says to take your thoughts captive, right, there's a lot going on there. But if we have a thought and we imagine that thought in its maturity, what is the fruit of that thought in maturity? And if it's not a fruit that we want to pick and eat, then we probably should not proceed with that thought, but cast it aside and move on. And this is discipline. This is how you explain discipline. And so, and maturity. And so it's easy to talk about, but it's more difficult in the moment to actually remember these words and remember the practice and do them. And so it's a challenge every day for us to be disciplined in the moments whenever we're excited and we're stimulated and we're actually being tempted to do something that's fun or exciting or whatever it might be. And then we know in the back of our mind, wait a minute, we hear that small voice, like maybe we shouldn't do this because it might lead to this. Oh, no, I'm okay. I'm going to do it anyway. And then bam, you're in trouble. You know, so it's very important, I think, for all of us in those moments to try the best that we can to reach out to whoever we're with. This is why it's really nice to be in a relationship with someone who is a God-fearing person, not necessarily having to be a Torah keeper, but for your sake, Kelly, you're in a marriage where you're missionaries, and he does love God, and so it even benefits you, this type of thing. So it's good to have that because we can encourage one another and build each other up. Now, that's also true from other members of the body outside your immediate relationship. But the support, the closer the support, the easier it is to reach. And it's so funny to me because I've spoken to people who are recovering alcoholics who are in AA and the 12-step program and all that. And the structure that they have is really great. Now, I don't really prescribe to all the teachings and all that stuff, but the structure is what's really nice because they're there to help each other and they know it and they support one another in their addictions. And we also have addictions. Our addictions are anything that brings us away from the Father and calls itself joy and that we enjoy. That's keeping a veil between us. But when we remember that veil was torn and it's not really there, and we do have a mediator, and we do accept his offering, and we can commune with him and the Father in thanks, then everything else kind of falls to the background. How kind of like in a movie, whenever the focus comes on the scene right in front of you and everything else is blurry in the background. You know, that's how it should be for us. Now, it's not instant, though, but that's how it should be. So the joy that comes from that thing is greater than any other joy that we could be tempted by. And we don't want to give up the joy that we have for any of it. And so, and this joy that I'm talking about comes from the Father's Spirit. And it doesn't exclude our family. It includes them. And we can all share in it together. And then when people see that joy in us, in our families, then they inquire about it themselves. And then we can share as we're led to share it. And it can spread like cancer in a person who doesn't know about juicing. And it's just exciting to know because that's the way that the Messiah, I believe, was with the disciples. He had a joy and a glow about him, and everybody gravitated towards him who loved the truth and loved the Father. And even though he did not preach against Torah, but his interpretation, because he had more understanding, was more complete than any of the rabbis or any of those guys at all. And so they took it as another message and they didn't like it. But those who had the ears to hear, they heard it and they followed him. And they did whatever he wanted them to do, and I'm glad they did because we have examples to learn by from that. So we too ought to follow him as he walks. You see, so it's easy to say that, but what does it look like? You know, well, I'm sure he kept the Sabbath. I'm sure that he didn't murder. I'm sure he followed the Father's commands. But the fullness of the commands. When it says he fulfilled the law, I think that meant that before him, no one really got it as much as he did. And so because he received all the understanding that he did, I think that he fulfilled it not only in the physical, but also in the spiritual. So I think that is what we aspire to do along with him, as we are his brothers and sisters through the blessing that we receive from the Father. We can be made children of Elohim as well. So there we are. Okay.
Anson or Kay, did you guys? Aw. Did you guys want to say anything?
No, most people, you will hear things like some sort of regrets, like saying, I wish I've done this. I wish I've done that, and all those what ifs. Yeah, I think that's the result of not, living for the moment. Like, but sometimes like, uh, 10 years from now, I don't know what I really need or I really want, right? So you can't exactly predict how to spend your time with today, how to prepare, because things change. So you can't 100%, do what you ought to do or prepare for what you ought to prepare. But there's one thing I'm sure that you can do 100%, and that is making sure that your time today is well spent. I think that's the key thing. Make sure that it is going to be a time well spent. Like everything you do, like me, usually before I go to sleep every night, I try to recall what I did for the day, and I try to see if it's been of use to anybody, to anyone, to me, because my really biggest regret in life is for all the wasted times that I've had. By wasted times, I mean things like, video games, like all nonsensical things. I would have been a better person by now if not for all those wasted times. But then it's not too late for everybody, make sure that everything that will contribute to other people and to you, if you think about it, there's like tons and tons of useful things, and all those useless things are just minuscule. They're just a fraction, right? But how come we always end up doing all those useless things, right? So yeah, I think make sure that you have time well spent. That for me is how to live for today. That's all.
I'm just laughing at Kelly's comment where I'm going to read it for the recording. No one says on their deathbed, I wish I would have spent more hours at work or played more video games.
I've said that, I've told you, like, there are tons of useful things. Even more hours at work, it might seem, but in the end, it's far better than doing video games, because, you work, you get paid, you have money, and you provide for the family, right? So it's still worthwhile, not for you, maybe, but you still benefit, your family and the company.
Is it benefiting your family if you work all the time and never see your family, though?
Yeah, in a way, yeah. I'll just say a little better, compared to video.
On your deathbed, you want to have your family there, and you want to say, I'm leaving this world, but look what I'm leaving behind. I have my family here, and they're gonna carry on, But if you spend all your time at work, or playing video games or whatever it is that we do that keeps us from doing the important things.
I really like this topic because it's a rebuke for me. I tend to be a warrior, not a warrior, but a warrior. I should be a warrior than a warrior. But I tend to be a warrior, and compared to Anson, I tend to be up there in the clouds and rather than down to earth. That's why I like what your mom said, Carrie, because that's a very good reminder for me. And sometimes I even tend to invite trouble where there is none. So So I learned a lot just by looking at my husband. He's down to earth, and when he works, he gives his best. He gives his all when he's doing something, and I really appreciate that. I learned so much from that, because like that is living in the moment. When he's working on this, then he's all in that, you know, that thing. As a woman, like I tend to be probably not all women, but for myself, I tend to be like scatterbrained. Like I'm here and there and everywhere, and so I have much to learn from Anson. And even in his work, when he's there, that's why, like at the end of the day, at the end of it all, he gets appreciated by his coworkers because of his, you know, just giving his best shot at everything. He works not like an employee, but it's as if he owns the company. That's how he is. And I learned I should be like that too, like, you know. So that's a good lesson. And I thank everybody for, you know, the sharing. I'm learning so much. And when Emily shared that about wishing it's nighttime, I remembered how it was for me too when, you know, my children were really young. Like I dread waking up, and I can't wait for nighttime to come. Yeah, so it's a journey for me as well to learn to appreciate the here and now, and just enjoying the time, like having my children grow up with me. Now it's so hard for me when it's just me and Joshua at home. It's so quiet. And but I have to enjoy that my time with Joshua because it's going to go by so quickly too. So yeah, so thank you for the topic. Praise Yah.
Ty, did you want to say something?
I think I had a comment. Learn from yesterday, live for today, and strategize for tomorrow. Approach what you do today with the understanding of everything you've learned in life. Don't keep making the same mistakes, and always try to learn something new to increase, you know, what you're going to know tomorrow. But you're not necessarily living for that. You're living for today, living fully. And always have a plan and be working towards it. Try to figure out, well, I'm doing this today. How can this help me tomorrow as well as help me today? So you try to get, try to achieve multiple things at once. And just do your best. Like what you're saying about Anson, give it your best effort always. So that's how I approach life. That's how I live every day. I do, and I live bigger than myself. I don't try to think about just me. I try to think beyond my own problems and my own issues I hurt today or whatever. Just life is a lot more than that. Focus on other people, and it'll give you more energy to get more done, to achieve more. So just, it seems like I'm a workaholic probably to most people that know me, but it's like I'm trying to work, trying to make it count. And if it's not for your own personal, oh, I want a Corvette or whatever, that's not really a good approach to life. What's the message here? Persevering hard work. Yeah. So I give it my best. I live fully. I don't try to do anything halfway, and I try not to be selfish in what I do. So I don't know. I take dominion seriously. So every day, wake up and take dominion, ownership of where you're at. This is, what am I going to do with what the Most High has given me? Am I going to do little, or am I going to do great things? I'm going to do more than am I going to try for more than I could ever achieve? Am I going to fail? Am I going to make a mess? Yes, I am. So that's me. That's how I live for today. I live for today. But not having a plan is not a good idea. You should live for tomorrow too, but not in the hope of it. It's like, well, I'm going to set myself up. I'm going to be wise and make sure I'm not just burning up energy for today and it has nothing for tomorrow. So it's worked for me so far, and it's getting better. I've learned a lot later in life. I spent a lot of years, I burned up a lot of time without direction or without a plan, and I didn't have anybody to teach me. I learned a lot of stuff the hard way. I did learn from the past, though, and I learned my lessons the hard way. So I hope to save my children and grandchildren the same pains I had. So in some ways, I do live for my future generations, not just for myself. So I don't know if that was an answer. That was my thoughts.
Ty, if you made mistakes before, that for me is also time well spent, because that's a time of learning. Like for me, I haven't tried many things in my life, so I haven't learned much. So you're in a better spot because you learned a lot from your mistakes. I'd rather have more mistakes and learn than, no mistakes and never learn anything.
Well, one thing I did learn, Anson, is I learned to not be afraid of mistakes or looking foolish or making a bad call. I'm like, you know what? I learned a lesson. I'm moving on from that. It wasn't a total waste of money or whatever, total waste of effort. So a fear of making mistakes holds a lot of people back. So, that's how you get stronger. You figure out what doesn't work, and whatever's left, that does work, and then that helps you move forward. So I'm with you on that. I make a lot of mistakes.
It depends on what you're trying. What you're trying. Like you said, you didn't try a lot of things, Anson, but in some ways, when you're young, you want to experience everything the world has, so you got to try it all, and that is the wrong kind of trying. I think you want to try to like you get an idea, and maybe this will work it'll help this if I can make this little bridge across here or whatever, that's going to help you. Your goal is that it's going to help someone or help you in your life. Then that's a good kind of trying. But just getting out and trying everything that the world has to offer or that kind of thing, that's not the kind of trying and mistake. Yeah, we do learn from those mistakes, but we were just talking about how you can raise your kids in the way that you want them to go, but you see it often that kids are raised in real protected greenhouse type settings. They, for some reason, and maybe somebody has some insight into this, there's often kids that will still want to go out and try things and experience the world, the things that their parents didn't let them try when they were growing up, or that they said, no, our family doesn't do that, or whatever. They have to learn it their own way sometimes, and often they come back after they've tried it, but you always wish there was a guarantee that they wouldn't want to go that way.
Yeah, go ahead, Ty.
Well, I was going to say about the mistakes and trying everything. I have learned that fences are good, that you should fence yourself in and not learn from your mistakes. That's your fence. Don't go there anymore. Don't hope for a better outcome the second or the third or fourth, fifth time around. Learn to not go that way and keep the fence up. So that's looking back and learning from the past. If you keep making the same mistake, you're really gonna, or you hope beyond hope, you're sometimes wasting your life. Waiting, you can't make other people change. You can only change yourself and your decision and your approach towards them. So Learning to accept things is part of living for today. You know, grant me the wisdom to change the things I can and the patience to accept the things I can't. So that's a big lesson.
Yeah, there's a couple of thoughts that have come to mind in all of this. One is be ever learning. You know, like with what you guys are saying, and in being ever learning, we need to be observant. And a lot of times people just go through the motions. They get into a rut of their daily living, and they do what they always do because they always do it that way, and they may not necessarily pay attention to what it is that they're doing and even think that they can change anything. You know, you just get into a rut. And I know from when I was younger, my parents were Amway distributors, and they had would listen to a lot of positive mental attitude teachings and read books and stuff. So I did too, and they would talk about there being a rut, and sometimes you have to you need to break it somehow. You need to do something different. If you usually take a certain route to work every day, you know, try a different route, you know, and see what you see, and just kind of just break the continuity of what you always do to kind of break you out of it. Be observant. Pay attention to what's going on. And learn that moment. I was talking about my acting experience. One of the things about the importance of being in the moment is, you know, when you're acting on stage, you have lines that you memorize and you speak the lines. And everybody else is supposed to have their lines memorized right time, you know, and if you're not paying attention, someone's their lines, you look like a real idiot. You know what you're doing, you know, but if you're in the moment, you can react, you can respond, you can, you know. So in our real lives, we need to be in the moment and observe what's going on, and be present always. And another thought that I had was how it is a tool of the enemy to get us so distracted from what's going on right now, whether it's through a means of dwelling in the past, like continually just living in the past, or longing for the glory days, or whatever, or continually living for the future and just ignoring what's going on right now, or not appreciating what's going on right now. I mean, I think these are methods, or the enemy, these are part of his arsenal, you know, to get us to shirk our, you know, what Ty says, our dominion, to shirk what's been given to us right now, to, you know, the heavenly minded, no earthly good concept. You know, we're longing for pearly gates and, you know, things that happen in another realm that aren't even here, that aren't even in this beautiful land that he's given us to enjoy right now. And these are all, like I said, I think I can see them as tools of the enemy, and how they can be used against us. But when we're mindful of that's how he operates, if we're mindful of our tendencies, that, you know, if we can get off track or get easily distracted or get to complaining about something, that lack of contentment, always wanting something other than what we have right now. You know, the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. Meanwhile, you got all this grass right here, but for some reason, those goats, they want what's on the other side of the fence. Just all these lessons. I know I'm like repeating myself with, but coming at, you know, from all different angles. Live today. Live today. Life is precious. I recently just told my kids, you know, I've had more miscarriages than I've had children born. So the children that are born, y'all are precious. You know, just being born is wow. And then the idea of how quickly or how easily our lives can be snuffed out. You just deprive somebody of oxygen long enough and it's over. And when we recognize that and how precious our life is, you know, usually when some terrible thing happens, it kind of jolts us out of our stupor. You know, you start recognizing, you know, when there's a death in the family or some natural disaster happens that kind of wakes us up. Like, wow, we need to live like that every day as far as being shaken out of our stupor and just enjoy the life that we've been given, and then the life that's all around us, whether it's the natural habitat that we're living in or other people in our household or just people we come into contact with. Be present, be ever present. And with that, be mindful that there is a future. Be mindful of how I live today, how that's going to affect what happens in the future. And amazing. You can have a wonderful life. You can have crowns stored up for you in how you live your life now. And so anyway, I want to be encouraging. Hopefully this is encouraging to us all, and that we kind of been thinking about these things. I appreciate all the comments, all the perspectives. Does anybody have anything? We've been going for about an hour now. We can bring this recording to a close. If anybody has any comments that they want on here or discussion related to this that they want to say.
I just want to ask, when scripture says redeeming the time, what does that mean?
What verse are you talking about?
Colossians 4 verse 5. I'm not sure if this is connected with the topic. I just want to know. Maybe it's connected, maybe it's not.
No, well let's look at it. We can look at it quickly. Colossians 4:5. Or does somebody have an idea already off the top of their head?
I just wanted to interject and say Shabbat Shalom to everybody. I'm actually about to head out. My sister's shower is today. So, Salah and Yizzy. Y'all come say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Salah. You look lovely.
Shabbat Shalom. Have fun at the shower.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right. Come on, boy. All right. And I'll see y'all next Shabbat. So Michael's still be here. So he still they can still hear. So he and his mom are here. And so and the baby. So they can still hear you guys. He'll be coming in soon.
Have fun. Carrie, you're muted.
Sorry, I said I was looking at the passage. I don't know if it was related or not. All right, I have Colossians 4:2-5. Continue in prayer and watch in the same with thanksgiving, without praying, or withal praying also for us, that God would open unto us a door of utterance to speak the mystery of Christ, for which I am also in bonds, that I may make it manifest as I ought to speak. Walk in wisdom toward them that are without, redeeming the time. Redeeming the time. The word there for redeeming is exagorazo. I don't know how to pronounce it. To redeem or to buy up for oneself.
NIV says make the most of every opportunity.
Hey, Carrie, you said something earlier that made me think of something somebody else said recently. You said the grass, the whole grass is greener concept thing. So they were talking to me about relationships. We were talking about how there's a lot of infidelity and a lot of broken marriages in the world today because people have the mentality of, oh, the grass is greener over here. And then they look back at their lawn and they see the grass is green. Oh, that's because somebody's watering it. If you don't water your grass, it won't be green. It's not just going to be green. You have to actually tend to it and do things with it so that it's, anyway, I thought that was neat when they told me that. So that's what I thought of whenever you said the grass is greener thing. So water your lawns, people.
Oh, but the father waters the lawns on both sides of the fence. But he rains on both the good and the evil. I guess I wasn't thinking along those lines because I was thinking about out here we don't mow our lawns. We set the animals loose.
Yep.
But I seriously.
Yeah, it's funny.
Mowing is a sin.
Yeah.
Thou shalt. That's the 11th commandment.
Well, it seems like such a waste. Why mow the lawn? It's a waste of energy. Anyway, well, does anybody have any final comments? Did you get your answer, Kay? Or get an answer that was satisfactory?
I'm not sure. Young's literal has a different translation altogether, like the time for stalling. Hey Neil, Shabbat Shalom.
Well,
Shabbat shalom. My wife forgot her phone, so I had to drive about 30 miles to get it to her. Turn around, come back. She's in a hurry this morning.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was going to say, let's go ahead and cut the recording because I don't know if this will.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll look into it more.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.